Hello. I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to do something like this. It's a little small for me. I have a larger shed. And as you can see, it's off to one side, but it's meant to be old and dented. So, yeah. Is a good tip. Aim for grunge, because, you know, it hides your mistakes beautifully. I'm doing a model of the Millennium Falcon now. Just any mistake I make is character. Yeah, but this is the prototype, so I've made a pattern of this, which I've given to a couple of people, and I'm going to do a little demonstration model and hopefully sort of even out the rough spots a little bit. A couple of people have asked, you know, because this is basic Discworld City Watch sort of helmet. I've sort of futzed with the designs to make it work out of the materials I had. As you can see, it's got a seam there, which and there, which if I was paying more attention when I made it, as I say, it's a prototype, I would have made it so that they were both on the same side, so you couldn't see the seam from the front, but it works. Historically, this is somewhat somewhere between a kettle hat and picture of a kettle hat and a Spanish Marion comb. Is that? Please write in and correct me on my pronunciation. Anyway, speaking of health, I was talking about the chin strap. This is not what I've prepared earlier. This is, I'm not that good. This is a 14th century, I believe, German sallet, written salad, but pronounced sallet, I recently discovered. French is weird, from an English perspective. That's going to be the fifth. But it's, you've got these little Y straps, which not dissimilar from modern bicycle helmets, I guess, but the idea is that the Y goes either side of your ear, and then the strap fastens under your chin, like this. And this traditionally, this would come with a gorget, written gorgot, or in this case a brevet, which in Old French means to dribble, because it would fog up and anyway. From that, not that, this, the lighter one. That one's surprisingly heavy. It's also on a big candlestick thing. So, from that, I made a pattern, which that's the same one. Anyway, now what I've done is I've done a. Wait for the white balance to kick in. I've done a right and left mirror image, but of course paper has two sides, so you can just get one and cut four and just turn half of them inside out. But just whichever way you want to do it. So that's why it says cut 2, 4 in total. So not too confused. By the way, this is, as I said, that was a prototype. This pattern is a prototype. I've never made a pattern for mass consumption before, so I've given it to a couple of people, and this, depending on the outcome of this video, I may revise it somewhat. Usually, these, you'll notice, are printed on A4 paper just to make it nice and easy. And I haven't mentioned this yet, but this is the whole point of this video. This is made from craft foam. So there's one red segment and a couple of black ones. The brim is thicker. Those were blue, I believe, and I've just painted it black underneath because you can see underneath. Now, I love this stuff. This is, I mentioned that I do a little bit of leather work. I made some pouches and a belt. The belt is a belt. But for the pouches, I prototyped them in this because it's a lot cheaper than leather, and it's sort of I believe it's a kind of EVA foam. I'm not entirely sure what its specific mineral properties are. I know how to use it. I know where to get it. I usually buy it from Riot Arts and Craft. Different shops have different stock. Someone recently recommended getting it at Spotlight, which is where I got this, which is not sort of much better value, although can get bulk packages if you're very lucky, and you can get larger than A4. I don't know what size that is, but it's a bit bigger. I think that one comes in a roll, but it's basically craft foam, is what I call it anyway. So that one you get a big packet of 4 or 5 different colours, and I believe they're A4. In fact, this might have come out, that's probably come out of that packet. You can get it in individual sheets. Artright almost always has it because they're sort of geared toward the kitty crafts and scrapbooking, as well as artist supplies. So they stock a lot of paints and canvases sort of on one side, and I'm specifically talking about the one at Joondalup, but they're more or less they're sort of traditional arts one side, and the rest is sort of kitty crafts, which for what I do is just use things in ways they're not meant to be used. So they have big sheets of newspaper paper. It's called newsprint for some reason when it hasn't got print on it, and when it's got print on it, it's called paper, which is confusing. But just big sheets of paper for kids to do their painting on and stuff, so it doesn't get on the carpet, theoretically. I love that as well because I make my patterns out of it. Some people use tracing paper, butcher's paper, whatever works for you. But in this case, because the sheets are about A4, the pattern is about A4. So I've just done a computer, and it's very easy because you can print it out. That one's got a couple of voids in it, so I'll probably that'll do nicely. I have a nice new packet of black, but I'll try and stick to colours because it shows up better on camera. Another one, these are for the brim in this case. These are 6mm. The regular ones are 2mm. And just in the interest of completeness, I'll mention this. I don't know if you can see the slight difference, not so much in the color, but in the texture. This I got in trade from a friend because they were doing something gold, and I said, well, you have my yellow, it'd be easier to paint over, because if it shows through the paint, it's not going to be as noticeable as if it's green and dark. But this is from Singapore, so it's slightly different texture. It's got a slight sort of wavy thing. I think that's just the other side is more or less the same as this, but a slightly more open cell texture. That's what you get in Singapore. So literally you can get this from all over the place if you know where to look. And one of the main things we're trying to do with the group is put up, one of the things we're working towards, I should say, because it's not done yet, is put up a list of where, specifically in Western Australia, but as we have more people from other states and other countries, we'll try and make sure that, if you want to find a readily available material, you'll know where to look. So watch this, well, not this space, but we'll put it up in the files on the group. It'll be fine. I'm so bad at this. This I can do. The video thing is very new to me. All right. So basically what we're going to do, I'm not going to paint it today. That'll probably be a different video because ended up doing this in the middle of the night in winter. So put the paint on, it won't dry. So even when I do the painting, I'll either do a priming and then a painting, or I'll just stitch two videos together and we'll call it the painting video with, put an intermission in the middle, maybe some ads. Make sure that. Alright, so I've got the mirror images, it's, front and back, or you could just print out 4 of these and turn 2 of them over. But what we're going to do is we're going to cut 4 of this design out of the 2mm foam. Should be another brim somewhere. And there it is. And 2 of these out of 6mm foam. Now, as it happens, these, take up virtually the entire sheet of 6mm foam, and I have exactly 2 of those at the moment. So I'll try and get it right, and if I muck up or the pattern turns out to have problems, that it'll be a learning experience for all of us. Yeah, so let's. Now, I should talk about this foam just in general terms while I'm getting ready. Some people would be ready before they start the video, but this is, yeah, we'll start with the top side, because get our iron before we start cutting into the stuff we have limited supplies of. Anyway, I love this stuff because it's, as I say, it's relatively cheap. It's not, probably what we would call in Australia, if you're from elsewhere, a gold coin. You know, $1, $2, probably $1.50 per sheet of A4. This one I got from Spotlight, and I'm sure Spotlight does the bulk packets as well. It's just a matter of which particular shop you go to, because it's individually stocked, if you know what I mean. Composition EVA. See, I've learnt something. It is EVA foam. So there's stuff that the big thick, like the Halo Troopers, Spartans. Yeah, I think it's slightly smaller, perhaps. Oh no, this is exactly A4, and this is slightly larger. So, I mentioned my sensitivity to chemical smells. EVA foam that's been in a plastic bag, bad. It's also folded over, which is slightly annoying. This is flat, so we'll use that. Go away, snowy here. Yes, obviously it folds, and you can cut it to different shape. I'm probably going to use a knife because I'm cutting over a pattern. You can cut up with ordinary paper scissors. You don't need to use fabric scissors, and definitely don't use somebody else's fabric scissors. That's always bad when you're... I don't know if it would necessarily hurt them, but it's just not necessary. And it is thick. This stuff, especially, sort of, no. Just that, use a knife. This scissors is fine, but I'm going to use a knife because I'm using a pattern and I want it to be accurate. Now, another material I love, masking tape. You know, I said I prototyped my leather pouches with craft foam, masking tape. You don't need to glue it or anything. In fact, because this is 2mm EVA foam sheet, as I've discovered, yeah, that's the same stuff. Yeah, so if you sew or put a pin through it, it's just as likely to put a hole in it as it is to hold it. So masking tape is a good sort of temporary hold, and even masking tape, you leave it on. You know, if you're working on something and put it to one side for a couple of weeks, and you pull it off and it's stuck too hard, it can rip this stuff. I'll just show you what I'm doing. There's a bit of tape there, bit of tape there, there, and just so when I'm cutting the pattern out, this is a little bit wasteful doing it this way, just because, you know, it's the outside of the sheet. You can cut the paper more, the pattern sort of just roughly cut around it so you're not gotten as much wastage, but as I say, little offcuts, you know, this is very useful stuff, so little offcuts I can reuse. Yeah. Even with the tape, you will want to support the material, the pattern on the material as you're cutting, just to lend support. This is just any old scalpel, hobby knife will do, but you may need to make sure that you're cutting it all the way through, or you might just be scoring the top of the foam, which is not entirely useless because you can go back and you know, you've scored a line, you can top it out later. So this is, need to force it through a little bit. Now just, can you see that? Yeah. Just for my own peace of mind, I guess, I'm going to mark out as best I can the what do you call it, fold or sewing or whatever they are. No, this will work. I just fold it there. This is just so I know what I'm doing with the material as I go along. There's a few years since I made this, so I'm just sort of, I'm back to making it up as I go along, I'm afraid. So it's good though, you get to see my process. It's that's just straight, so I'll do that later with a ruler. This is, I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just sort of folding it over and marking it as I go along. Another way to do this would be to just essentially, I say a lot at the moment. Anyway, another way to do it is just to sort of draw along the top of the paper and create a little impression, which I don't know if you can quite see, but it's just a little score line in the thing. So you can, and now don't worry about scribbling across this because you're going to paint it anyway. So, you know. Don't, just be a little, as I say, this is just a tiny score line. You don't really want to create massive dents in it because, although actually I recall when I originally made this, I wanted it to have sort of a weathered look, just to make it look old and as if the character had sort of just picked any old helmet off the top of the pile because he doesn't need armor. He's naturally armored. He's just wearing it as part of a uniform. Drink every time he says but it's good to write somewhere what each piece is. Just, I mean, I know which side up it is because that's the side with the lines on it. Now, I've done I know vaguely what I'm doing. It would not be a bad idea at all to cut out an extra set of these patterns and do a paper one. Just, you know, fold the fold lines and connect the overlapping sides with tape or, you know, old school glue stick in this case is fine. Good to have a little bit of play around with the design to make sure it's going to work. I'm just jumping straight in, which when it doesn't work is going to be entertaining for everyone. as I say, I've just scored this roughly with a pen, and don't necessarily need to be a dotted line to know it's a fold, because if it's a cut line, you would have already cut it at this stage. Thing cut out of sheet is good. And anyway, just repeat 4 times essentially. Now, because you're doing 4 identical ones, you could just print out one pattern and then trace over this, but you could have errors and things of that nature. So I'm going to do it the honest way, and I don't even know if you need to see this 4 times. Just you get the gist. This, because of the way the brim is structured, just to fit it on the sheet, basically, which if you're using something like a yoga mat, you can do it any size you like. This is sort of, as I say, it's sort of halfway between a Marion helmet, the Spanish one. Please feel free to correct my pronunciation. It's halfway between that and a kettle hat, which is it's a sort of medieval version of the World War II tin hat trench helmet. But as I say, a lot of these would have been hammered out of a single sheet. Some of them might have been built up in sections like this is, but it's just a matter of getting the curvature that you need, which is defined by the brim. So I might start cutting out the brim so you can see how it fits together. Once again, we're using black, which shouldn't matter to you guys because it's, in this instance, doesn't have any fold lines. And it's covered with a pattern at the moment, so no need to worry about how easily it's the shape and form, aside from the outline, is visible on camera because you can't really see it at all yet. Knife. The brim is actually, the pattern is slightly larger than the sheet of paper. I'm going outside the lines a bit here because, as I say, it doesn't have much of a grain, but it does have a little one, which is magnified the thicker the foam is. So, generally speaking, it's better to go outside the line, because then you can trim it, as opposed to when you're colouring something in. It's better to go inside the line, so then if you're not, you can just sort of do little pencil, etc. strokes until you reach the line. So this is go outside and then trim as needed. The inside, I'm going to try and stick fair. Oh, I've got inside the line, but that's all right. I'm going to try and stick fairly close to the line because you need to fit your head in it. Now, as I said that this was sort of deliberately made too small but it's roughly my head size, but it is a little on the small side. Okay, so that's some of these are a little, because when you start your cut, it doesn't like to. Also, there's a sticker which makes it harder to cut through. That's a little bit of. So you'll find that when you're cutting into the 6mm, it'll sort of like to be shallower. So, because that's got a sticker in it, which I should have looked for, no, I can't make that top or the bottom. I have to try and peel this off. Remember I only said I had enough to do exactly this many? Anyway, I'm going to... Anyway, do a little demonstration. This is what we're going for. See? Fairly simple